Welcome to Therapy, Tech, and Takeout. We're an entrepreneur and therapist exploring how technology is shaping mental health and what it means for how we live, connect, and care for ourselves. I'm Toni Teixeira. I am the therapist.
And I'm Jackie Toale. I'm the entrepreneur. Hey, Toni, how's it going this week? What's new with you?
It's going well. It's a good week. We have beautiful weather in the Northeast in New Jersey, so blue skies. Yesterday they were doing. I'm not close, but relatively in the scheme of things to one of the military bases where they have jets
Oh,
and
yeah.
fighter, and we had a flyover yesterday. My whole
Wow.
house was shaking. I
That's
was
so
like
scary.
freaking out because I didn't know what it was. I thought like the aliens are
Right?
landing or,
Yeah. Or an
there's a
earthquake. You guys get those up there every once in a
earthquake.
while?
Yes, we've had quite a few, but I could feel it was
It was like top
sound
down.
over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't run outside because I'm like, okay, it's probably just a plane. But then it got louder and louder. And then there was more of it. So it's like for a couple minutes. And I really wish I went outside because I kept thinking, as soon as I go outside, it's going to stop. So I kept telling myself that. And then of course, I immediately went on Facebook and somebody posted, what's that sound outside, right? In one of the communities nearby. And somebody mentioned that. So I used to work for the Navy, so I was like, "Oh yeah," and they usually will post and let community members know close by about it. So I was kind of bummed that I missed it, but some people took video, so it was really cool to like actually watch
Yeah.
them go by. But it felt like it was like 2 inches above my house. I mean, like that's how loud it was. It was really, really loud,
That's wild. I wonder if
but
you're going to get
very
any more of
cool.
that with the World Cup games coming up your way.
Yeah, I don't know. They run their military drills and they have a schedule for that. So this was
Yeah.
probably one of the drills that they were just happened to be doing. But there were a lot of people who were making assumptions about what it was because
Oh, I
Trump was
bet.
in town for the Knicks game. Oh, he was getting an escort. So I love when so I read all the things about
Right?
all the things that people were making up. And then I went and somebody actually posted the schedule and I checked. It was a real schedule of their kind of
Practice.
the practices that they do, right? Like their
Yeah.
drills. That's the
Yeah,
word I'm
yeah.
looking for. Yeah. So summer's here. It reminded me that summer's here, and there's a lot of stuff happening outside. They do a really cool thing. I don't know if they still do it. They might have stopped during COVID, but they do like the Blue Angels
Mm-hmm.
will do and they'll open up to the community and they'll have like an air show and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really cool stuff.
I've been to a few of those up. We have MacDill Air Force Base just north of where I live. And especially when the kids were younger, we went to a couple of them and they were just mind boggling to watch, these
No,
and
right?
the
They
the
get so close to
volume.
each
Yeah, and they're
other.
so close to each other. They're so close to the ground and they're upside down. It's wild. It's really interesting and awe-inspiring to watch. And I'm glad I'm on the ground. Although I definitely would go for a ride in one if somebody offered.
Would you? Oh
Oh,
no,
heck
it's
yeah.
too scary for
I mean,
me.
I'd probably vomit and pass out, but I would be there.
Those are the two things you're definitely gonna do.
Yeah.
What's new for you this week?
Well, we have a house guest. The kid's cousin is in from the UK, which is a lot of fun. He's a real sweet guy, and he kind of gets us out of our routine of doing the same sorts of things all the time because he wants to see different stuff. So that's exciting. And then he's going to go to some of the World Cup cities and stuff and go around. He's a big football fan.
Yes.
And yeah, and I loved your post. I can't remember the word now, but I'm like so excited about this thing that you posted about that
Allostatic load.
allostatic load. Yeah, I'd never heard of it. I'm like, yay! I got to remember
Yeah.
and put that into my usual speech. But busy as usual. Hopefully tonight I'm going to go see The Devil Wears Prada with my cousin, so that should be exciting.
Oh, that'll be fun. We went to go see He-Man
Was it
over the
good?
weekend. It was good. It was a lot of fun. It's campy, but it was
Yeah.
a cool thing. And I can't wait to hear your review for The
Yes.
Devil Wears Prada.
Did She-Ra make an appearance in He-Man?
I can't say. We can't say. I'm not going to
No
give
spoilers.
spoilers.
I was a She-Ra stan for sure as a little kid. 100%.
Well, we
Awesome.
can go on and on about
Right,
this because
forever.
we love Shira in my house too, with the animated series we watched. But the topic today was one that's near and dear and important to me because it really, I think it's that place where mental health and technology really makes us think about ethics and how that technology is going to have an impact on the therapeutic relationship on people who are accessing mental health. So this was really important to me, and
Yeah,
I'm really curious about your thoughts about the topic. I'll say a little bit about the article.
sure.
I shared an article. The title was Headway Requires Biometric Verification for Patients and for Providers. Where was this one from, Jackie? Because we had one from a
This
different
is
form
from
platform.
Behavioral Health Business.
Behavioral health business, yeah. So in April, Headway, which is one of those venture capital platforms that therapists use to see they see clients, but essentially they are employees for Headway. And in April, Headway said that the medication management side of things, that the people who were doing medication management, like the psychiatrists and the nurse practitioners, had to verify themselves using government ID and facial scan recognition, and their patients had to do that as well. So they're rolling it out, and Headway has said they're rolling it out for medication management, but they're going to be rolling it out for the rest of the community there.
Isn't
So
it nice
that
of them
means
to get ahead of the regulatory environment for folks?
I know,
You're
I
like,
know.
of all the places where people are trying to get ahead of the regulatory environment, like maybe this one isn't the most efficient. Very interesting, though. Really, really pretty shocking, right? To imagine as a patient that data is going to be out there.
Well, a couple things before we
Sorry.
even talk about that. No, I know. But if they don't put the data out there, if they don't comply, they can't use the platform.
Yeah,
They're like blocked from using the platform. So,
for sure. And this is a platform like a lot of people, I didn't really know anything about it. So I hit up the world's best font of information, Reddit, to see what people were saying out there about
love
it.
it.
And, I mean, this is yeah. Well, about Headway in general, to learn kind of like what people are saying about Headway and how they came to use it and whatnot. And it did seem like a lot, especially during the pandemic, kind of medication management driven stuff for patients. That was kind of how people were coming to this platform because it's like, oh, I can't go in to see my provider. This service will let me do
Right.
virtual,
And for
right?
some people who didn't even have providers and it was necessary for them, like they didn't have their trusted provider to even call. They didn't
Right.
have anyone, so they needed to get started. So some of these platforms, of course, it was wonderful and it did really great things by connecting people to a provider as well as therapists. So people who want, and a lot of people, there was a high need, of course,
Yeah.
during the pandemic for people to seek therapy. On the back end of it, therapists are working for these platforms. They're negotiating kind of rates, and which is, for people who are in private practice and not on the platforms, it's causing issues for people who were trying to get good rates for themselves. Like, in other words, if you weren't on this platform, you could get screwed if you were in network with an insurance company because they're going to give better rates to the
Right. To the
therapists who are
Headway.
working on Headway. So it takes away some choice. Anyway, that's not the topic today. I think we've actually talked about that topic before, but it's really what they're doing and this compliance standard to have people who are being put in a position where they have to give a government ID, they have to submit to a facial scan, and these are issues about privacy, security, and ethics all wrapped up into one. And that issue about not being able to have access to the platform if you don't comply, like
Right.
this is a direct hit to
Yeah.
mental health. This technology-based requirement is really tied to people getting access to mental health. So what are your
Yeah.
thoughts? Yeah.
So I thought it was really interesting. One of the ways it seems like Headway has recruited practitioners is, like you said, by playing into the idea that, hey, for you to get all of your certifications or accreditations to bill for different insurance companies can take months and be really arduous. And then you're probably going to get paid less than if you just signed up with us. But then you lose control over whose network you're in or not. Or then you have to supplement with then going directly or then going through another provider if Headway changes the insurance companies that they work with, which they have. And I thought it was interesting that they said, what was the thing? Basically, it was that like most of their large practice groups are super happy about the change, which made me think, like I wonder if that's the practitioners in those large practice groups or if that's like the executive leadership of those large practice groups being happy about it. Because I have a gut feeling about which one it is. But I also thought how strange it was that they are leveraging sort of this intrusive technology that's rife with issues such as HIPAA compliance and things like that, and data security and whatnot. When forever we've been doing this for remote workers. I've worked for companies that are based in other places, and you have to get on a phone call with HR at the beginning, show your 2 government IDs, and then that person says, okay, I checked that I physically verified that this is you. There's no capturing of that. It's just a person did it, and then you sign the form and you move on. Like, I don't understand why that isn't like the approach that they're running out with, because it's straightforward, it takes no time, and it hedges all of these things. Instead, they're working with a company that Discord doesn't want to work with.
Right? Discord stopped using them to verify ages of people who are using the platform because they found security issues with them. So that's kind of scary because
Yeah,
now we're using that for a vulnerable population. This is a population of people who want access to mental health services. They're a vulnerable population, and they may say yes because they need to say yes, right?
yeah.
In fact kind of a coerced they're being coerced
They don't
really
have another
to
choice.
do that, right? Because they may not have another choice.
Right, your prescription's running out in 3 days. What are you gonna do?
Right.
You
Which,
know?
we can't bringing us back to, kind of my ethics nerd stuff, like institutional review boards for research ensures that populations that are coerced aren't used. You can't use power and control to get in that you can't get informed consent
Right.
if you have coercion, right? So that's
Makes
why like
sense.
they don't do research on prison populations because they can't really say no.
Right,
So you have to be careful. If somebody can't say no, then you're really putting them in a position where you're not giving them a choice.
right.
And then they're not really consenting, right? So you could see we can go down a rabbit hole. The other thing that concerns me, and we talked about to data before, and what they do with that is sometimes improve systems, right?
Mhm.
We did one of the podcasts we talked about that, like that was kind of like one of the underlying things. What are they doing with this data? Is any of it kind of matched up with any other data? Is it something that, there's some kind of implicit, thing going on where they're trying to improve some of the systems that they're creating? So, that just speaks more to informed consent. Are people who are consenting even to use the platform saying, okay, I'm fine with this. They can have my picture. They can do the facial scan. What are they really agreeing to? Are there other
Right.
things that they're agreeing to that they don't even realize that they're agreeing to?
Absolutely. And then what is the outside risk too of like government involvement in capturing some of this stuff? I heard a really good podcast over the weekend. I think it was The Daily about what happened in the Social Security office during the beginning of this recent administration and how, they were really trying to use this file called the death file to harass people that they thought were not legitimate citizens. And hearing, like you hear pieces of it, but when you hear from the person that like managed all the databases and the purposes of
Right.
all these things and stuff, and how just like egregious and wild that is, this makes me think of that too. Because like if you're not only a vulnerable person, but if you're part of a vulnerable population,
Right.
sharing
Uh-huh.
this information and putting it out there to a company who you think is protecting you, they're venture capital backed, right? So
Right. Right.
who knows who's friends with who and who might have access to your information or how your
Yeah.
information might get subpoenaed and leveraged against you in a perfectly legal way or other
Right.
things.
high risk for so many different populations. I mean, let's look at trans clients
Yes.
who maybe are in the midst of transitioning. Documentation may not look at the same as appearance.
Yeah.
They're trying to navigate that internally. This is now, something that they have to comply with. And, there could very well be a system that says this is a mismatch, right?
Right.
So, complying may not be so helpful. So we're putting so many people at risk, and that's addressing, or that's like hitting a mental health issue by putting
Yeah.
people in a place where they have to jump through hoops now to try to access care. The other thing that I really want you to think about, like, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of the client who loves their therapist and really, really wants to access them. And as soon as you decide, Jackie, if you're the client, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to put this information in, you've completely lost access to the
Yeah.
therapist you love.
Yeah.
Imagine what that's like.
No, I can't even. Like, shocking.
Now, from the therapist side, as you sit with that, who we love our clients, we care about our clients. We want to be there and we want to be helpful to them. Now, I have to decide too, do I want to deal with my privacy and security? If I don't, I can't work for this platform.
Right.
I can't work for anyone else. I'm in network with all these providers, but only through Headway. I'll have to go through the whole rigmarole of doing it myself.
Yeah.
So, my finances are linked to whether or not I comply to this. My whole family may be. And then I may lose my client who I really, really care about.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, if you decide to leave and that client follows you, you might have a fight on your hands with Headway because they might try to think you poached that client.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
yes and no, because we'll go back to ethics, and that's an important side note to make, because I do want to talk about the ethics behind this. If I'm forced, if they do that cutoff, then I'm in a position where I'm abandoning my client. That's unethical. It's
Yeah.
in my ethics that I don't abandon my clients. So we have an issue that, who's it going to come down on? It's not going to come down on Headway. It's going to come down on me personally as the therapist who violated my ethical code because I abandoned my client, because that's the therapeutic relationship. If
Can
I
I ask a
left,
question related to that?
yes, go ahead.
Because so how does that work if like all of a sudden Blue Cross, like if you're just a private practice and you have your individual contracts with the insurance companies and like one of them says we're not working with you anymore, or one of them says, oh, we're going to give you $1.50 an hour if you want to work with us, or something ridiculous where it makes it impossible.
This
How do you
happens.
navigate that? Yeah, I'm sure.
It has happened, and it is happening,
Yeah.
because Alma and Aetna have gotten together to say that right across the board, even the most complex cases, people who are, at the doctorate level are going to get their fee
Yeah.
bumped down to match everybody else's. And if you go over the 45-minute, you're not getting paid any more for that. So it has happened, and it is happening right now. Me as a therapist, what I would do, I would approach my client and really tell them this is what's happening, and I'm not going to work for this platform anymore, and I'm going to stop work. This is the ethical kind of way to do it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to stop working for them in 3 months, which means we can continue to work together, and we can talk about what you want to do.
Yeah.
Maybe I can refer you to another therapist. Do you want to go out of network? Do you want to do private pay? So I'm going to give options to my clients.
Which you have the
I
choice of doing because there's this, like, and it's more attenuated. You can kind of set the timeline with that. You can decide how long.
ex-
Whereas this is
exactly.
less so because it's immediate. Don't show your ID, you're off.
This is abandonment.
Yeah.
Now, oh my gosh, not only is it an ethical issue, but imagine clients who have abandonment as the issue they're coming to
For
therapy.
real. Yeah.
Now you've recreated it. Now they're never going to want to see a therapist. They're really going to carry around more trauma and pain because of this that happened, and they might not even be aware it's happening. Like
Yeah.
right now as we speak, there may be people who are like, oh, fuck this, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to put my picture on here, and then realize that they can't get in touch with their therapist and they have no way to, kind of work with them. And as far as taking clients with you, There's no platform, no company, no organization that can tell a therapist they can't continue to work with someone because of this abandonment piece. Because
Interesting.
we are ethically responsible for our clients to come first. So you can't tell a client that they can't work with a therapist, and you can't tell a therapist that they can't be there for a client who needs them,
But
right?
can they it
Because
seemed like from the article they tell them that the therapist can't proactively reach out after they leave. Or maybe that was something I read on Reddit. But like do you think they could say that?
that's probably something on Reddit that you
Yeah.
wrote. No, the rules are really clear
Good.
about that yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
That because
I
that had me
forget
worried too.
I forget what that there was. I think it was last summer, especially on Facebook. I'm in a lot of therapist groups, and there's a lot of talk about like people kind of fearing that, but the rules are pretty clear about that. And also, I am backed by my National Association for Social Workers, the lobby there, my code of ethics, that I can
Yeah.
read anyone, the Riot Act while I'm reading that, because that really is what comes first for me
Yeah.
and so important. So like the this really does speak to the therapeutic alliance and the relationship that you have. They are essentially interfering with that relationship,
Yeah.
which is unethical from the get-go.
Absolutely. Really interesting. I had one of the suggestions I saw, which made a lot of sense to me, although, does seem difficult in execution, was that idea of, if therapists went together to put a platform together that wasn't private equity owned, that had ethics and the heart of like the actual process at the core of it. But I think the guy estimated it would take like 30,000 practitioners putting in a few $100 each to kind of get the economic threshold that you'd need to be able to build out something that would be competitive, basically, which seems like a pretty high hurdle to hit. But it is that difference, right? Like private equity, venture capital, these things are like a very few people putting in a ton of money. And the easy shortcut way to think about getting around that is a lot of people putting in a little money towards the solution. But, who's gonna be able to do that when you're working a job where you're getting paid less and less and have, less bandwidth to do stuff with?
Yeah, I mean, and just putting in the few dollars, someone still has to do all the work behind it. Like it's
Yeah.
not just about money. It's,
No.
is that enough money really if after you put it in to really hire the people and create the systems that a big company like, Headway can do, and the marketing and all of that goes along with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
I don't
how
know.
that could be done, that just like the number of hours and money that goes into that.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. I mean, it's really hard being in private practice as it is. I think that the Headway, the kind of the thought to make it easy and accessible to people sounds really good, but
Yeah.
I think that it's really a slippery slope. There are therapists who are able to make some money on Headway, and that's great. I mean, I'm never going to tell anyone that, they should do things differently. Like, who am I to say that you shouldn't be on this platform and working there? And I did. I worked for Headway. I guess it was during the pandemic, and they were brand new. They sounded really great. I
Yeah.
got started with them and then decided, it's not for me, and
Yeah.
went to do my own private practice outside of them. I ended up, I wanted to drop insurance companies anyway. I mean, that was kind of like the road I was going down. But after I left, I started kind of hearing the stories about how they changed and really got much more control over the therapists,
Yeah.
over the clients who were coming to them, and so things really changed. So I think in the beginning there was a lot of
Yeah.
thought put into how to make it more accessible to people, but something happened along the way, and maybe it has to do with dollar signs.
Usually it does.
Usually it does, making more money.
Yeah.
So and I see, so we didn't really talk about what they're why they're doing this, like the
Yeah.
plus of verifying patients.
Which makes sense on a logical
Right.
level, right? Like I want to make sure if I'm writing prescription to you, like you're the person that you say you are. I'm writing it. I know your medical history is your medical history, all that good stuff, right?
Exactly. Exactly, right. right.
which is
But
all
they
well
might
and
be
good. But you could look at my driver's license for a second and see that it's me and not record it
right,
and be like,
right,
"Yep, saw
exactly.
that and verified it as a professional with ethics."
And that's what I do, right? So I
Yeah,
have a private practice. I want to know what my, my client's ID. I do have them download a picture of their license that is on my HIPAA secure network,
yep,
my EHR, and I have it there because I have their address, I have their picture, and I can verify. And I also verify every time I see them that it's them, right?
yeah,
Because I've seen them before, and also kind of like the first time I'm meeting them, I have it from them
yeah,
filling out their paperwork. I mean, that's a very easy way to do it. And when I had, before I had an electronic health record and I had like my file drawer with my lock,
yeah.
I took copies of those things and everything stayed in my file and I was able to do that. So I'm not really sure what the added benefit is of capturing it and keeping it and having a large company like monitor that and do all of that. The therapist who's working with the client could do that in the first
Right.
session.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Easy, it seems like.
it
Could
seems like it could be easy peasy.
Yeah, it really felt like I was struggling to find the benefit. I mean, again, the overall idea, I get. Like, I
Yes,
understand it's important to verify who
yes.
people are.
What troubles you the most? A bit like in the data, there's a license and facial scanning, and they're
Where
capturing
that's
it.
gonna get used? Who owns that information? Like, why? I don't think we ask that often enough because it's just kind of a default. We get scanned everywhere and stuff, but like, why? I think
Right.
is an important place
Yeah,
to be for a while.
I'm especially troubled because I'm used to asking for people's licenses. I don't like that they're keeping it, in like this extra system, but I'm especially troubled by the facial scanning.
Yeah.
I don't understand why that's necessary or what they're doing with that.
Yeah. What's that gonna get used for?
What is that going to get used for? Why is that used? Why is there another threshold beyond the government identification? That feels a little
Yeah.
uncomfortable
Yeah.
I want to use the word suspicious. Like,
It does feel
what are
suspicious.
you
Yeah.
doing with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
do you need that? What's
Why
the
do you need
purpose of
my
it?
three-dimensional kind of profile?
Yeah. So you can unlock my iPhone. But I
Interesting.
mean, I doubt that's it, right? But like, it's just strange. And why on earth are you using this company that Discord wouldn't use to verify age for
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
right. And Jackie, in this day and age, when we have all these data breaches happening,
terrifying.
it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It is really terrifying. They're like so close to almost doing that step where they might ask for like fingerprints
Yeah. Yeah.
because a facial scan is kind of like that's a very individual. Seeing a 2D picture is one thing, right? And
Oh, yeah. All those
right.
points and stuff. Yeah. It's
This is
wild.
like it's kind of like a fingerprint,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Or a retinal scan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't love it.
Yeah.
Glad that it is getting some media attention so that people out there can know, like, "Ooh, I got asked this. Ooh, it feels icky." What if people find themselves in that situation and they don't want to comply? Can they reach out to their therapist independently? Do they have their contact info?
Don't know. I don't, it's so individual, Jackie, how people are, what they're doing on these
Interacting on the
platforms
platform?
and
Yeah.
what they're allowed to do. Who knows? Headway may say, you're not allowed to give your client information, or you have to use our electronic health records, so you can't have them contact you through theirs, or they
Right.
can't go on your platform. I don't know what that looks like, but I would definitely say that if you are a client on one of these platforms, you might want to talk to your therapist, knowing that this is happening. It's probably going to get rolled out to the general population
Yeah.
that's using that platform. Right now, it's for the medication piece. But I would say talk to your therapist now, know that this is rolling out, and make a plan and a determination about what you want to do. Like have an honest conversation about how you feel about the privacy and the security of doing that. Decide whether or not you want to do it, and then create a backup plan with your therapist. Like, maybe it's seeing another therapist, or maybe your therapist is thinking of leaving the platform, and you could talk about how you might continue in the future. But knowledge is power. And
Yeah.
it's important to really know that this is happening and make a plan.
Get ahead
Yeah,
of it.
get
Yeah.
ahead of it. But it saddens me so much because I'm just thinking about the vulnerability of people who might feel like they have nowhere else to go. They might have this conversation and then say, well, what am I going to do? I
Yeah.
really feel like I have to do this.
And I've spent so much time and energy, like, getting to this place with
Right,
a person. To have to start over again can feel, like, overwhelming, I would imagine it to some folks. And
right.
really, like, just put
Yeah,
a big old kink in, like, the healing process.
right. Yeah. So, and
Yuck.
and for therapists that are on these platforms and their livelihood is tied to them, they too are vulnerable
Oh,
because
yeah.
therapists we don't make a lot of money, and
Right?
a lot of us have,
You don't have a
bills
PJ,
for
Tony? Come on.
no, and trying to pay back student loans
Right?
and like trying to raise families, and yeah,
Yeah.
so being a therapist can put you in a very vulnerable position as well financially. So it's not good news. I wish we had good news to talk about today, Jackie.
I know. Well, sometimes we gotta face the fact that it's not all good out there.
Yeah.
And at least, if we can reach anybody who can get ahead of this and not have it happen as like, a decision at the last minute where they feel cornered, to get ahead of it, talk with your therapist. If you go, I'm assuming this mostly applies to people who go to therapy through insurance, or does it apply to
Yes.
everybody? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Most
if you use
most of the
insurance
people.
for your therapy, have a conversation with your therapist
Right.
about those like contingency plans of things that could happen, regardless of
Right.
what platform
Well,
they're on or
yeah, on a platform, I think. I think in therapists who are in private practice and they're working individually, they might, they'll they'll
they
work
have
with
more
their clients and
flexibility.
they have more flexibility. Exactly. Thank you. That's the word.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm
Yeah.
learning all about all of this. I've not ever really gotten into the business side of your business, but I think it's super interesting. This part of it's really depressing, but hey, it's a big problem, and
Mhm.
somebody out there needs to come up with a big solution.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
add it
Yeah.
to the
Well,
list.
yeah, one of the things is the getting ahead, I think, is so important because I do see that someone's going to sign on for their session that day and be cut off from their therapist. So I really urge people to really get ahead of this and to talk about it. And I don't know if we can protest. I don't know how the Headway therapists feel about,
Right? Yeah.
saying, "Hey, this is a problem. This is putting my ethical standards on the line and my licensure on the line by breaking the therapeutic alliance, by abandoning my clients, by kind of creating this. But if there's a way to do that, I would really urge the Headway therapists to think about how they can get this information to the upper echelons
Yeah,
in this
seriously.
company. Yeah.
Yeah, get some attention going. I think it's so wild too. I saw one of the podcasts I listened to, one of the guys who's a regular guest on it, him and his wife just had twins and they spent like a bunch of time in the NICU and the insurance wasn't paying it. And he had like an $80,000 bill for like one day or whatever for the two kids. And because he has a platform and complained about it loud enough, like it got resolved. But like, what about all the people out there that don't have the platform? You know, this kind of makes me think of that too. It's like, these vulnerable people don't necessarily have a platform to say how wrong this is. But hopefully, yeah, if the therapists and the patients could say, hey, we're going to take this week and we're not going to do anything on Headway, that might get some people's attention.
Yeah. We'll
I
keep
like it.
talking about it. I like it too. It's
Awesome.
good
Well,
talking to you about this
yeah,
topic.
thanks so much, Tony. I really appreciate learning all about all this. It's sad, but hopefully we can get ahead of it for some folks for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks.
yeah, thank you. Don't forget to, if you like the episode, leave a comment in the reviews, or don't forget to like and subscribe and share it with a friend. Love to talk to you guys, and we'll talk next week. Take care.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.